My name is Gloria Ramirez, and I need you to understand something. A single lottery ticket can destroy an entire family. I didn't believe it either until that Christmas morning when everything changed forever. Picture this, December 25th, 7 a.m. I'm walking down the stairs of my childhood home, clutching a scratched-off lottery ticket worth $100,000 in my sweaty palm. This was supposed to be my surprise gift to Mom and Dad. Enough money to pay off their mortgage, clear their debts, and secure their retirement. I'd been planning this moment for weeks, imagining their tears of joy, their grateful hugs, maybe finally hearing the words, "We're so proud of you, Gloria." Instead, I walked into the living room and saw my 25-year-old sister Diane sobbing with happiness next to a brand new red BMW with a giant yellow bow. My parents, Robert and Patricia Ramirez, were wrapped around her like she'd just won the Nobel Prize. On the coffee table sat BMW keys with a note reading, "For our precious Diane, Merry Christmas." And me, I got a pair of socks, white tube socks from the dollar store, still in the plastic packaging. That's when it hit me like a freight train. I was never really their daughter. I was their ATM. Let me take you back 15 years so you understand exactly what I mean. I was 15 when Dad lost his job at the factory. Most teenagers would have been worried about prom dresses or driver's licenses. Me? I was calculating how many hours I needed to work at McDonald's to keep the electricity on. I had a full scholarship to Northwestern University. My ticket out, my chance at a real future. But Dad sat me down with those serious eyes and said, "Gloria, honey, we need you. Diane's only 10. She needs stability. Family comes first." So I gave up my scholarship. I gave up my dreams. I gave up my future because that's what good daughters do, right? At 18, when other kids were heading off to college, I was working 2 jobs, morning shift at the diner, evening shift stocking shelves at Target. Every paycheck went home. Every dollar I earned disappeared into family expenses while Diane got piano lessons, dance classes, and whatever new gadget caught her eye. When she turned 18, guess what happened? Full ride to USC, not because she earned it, but because Mom and Dad had been saving for years. Where did they get that money? From my paychecks, of course. By 22, I'd managed to save enough for a down payment on a small house. Did I get to enjoy it? Of course not. Mom and Dad were struggling with rent, so naturally I let them move in. Just temporarily, they said, until we get back on our feet. That was 8 years ago. They never paid rent, never contributed to utilities. But somehow they always had money for Diane's spring break trips to Cabo. When Diane graduated college at 22, debt-free thanks to my sacrifices, did she get a job? Nope. She moved back home to find herself and explore her options. For 3 years, she's been exploring all right. Exploring every mall within a 50-mile radius on my dime. While I worked 60-hour weeks to support a family of 4, Princess Diane took yoga classes and posted Instagram photos of her acai bowls. Let me break down the math for you, because numbers don't lie like families do. Over 15 years, I contributed $360,000 to this household. Diane received over $150,000 in direct support. College tuition, living expenses, car payments, insurance, vacations, you name it. I sacrificed approximately $200,000 in potential savings and investments. And what did I get for it? A reputation as the responsible one, and the expectation that I'd always be there to clean up everyone else's messes. But here's the thing about being the family scapegoat that most people don't understand. You develop this chronic self-doubt. You start believing that your worth is measured by how much you can give, how much you can sacrifice, how little you can ask for in return. Every time you want something for yourself, that voice in your head whispers, "Don't be selfish, family first, they need you." I became a master at people-pleasing, walking on eggshells, avoiding conflict at all costs. When Diane crashed her car junior year and Mom called crying about the $5,000 deductible, who do you think covered it? When Dad needed dental work and they didn't have insurance, who paid for his crowns? When the furnace broke last winter, guess whose credit card saved Christmas? And through it all, I kept telling myself this lie. They appreciate you. They know how much you've sacrificed. When things get better, they'll take care of you too. Standing there Christmas morning, watching my parents beam at Diane like she hung the moon, I finally understood the truth. I wasn't their daughter, I was their safety net. I wasn't part of the family, I was the family employee. They didn't love me, they loved what I could do for them. The lottery ticket in my hand felt like it was burning my palm. $100,000. Life-changing money that I'd planned to hand over without a second thought, because that's what Gloria does. She gives everything and asks for nothing. But looking at that BMW, at Diane's designer outfit, at my parents' satisfied smiles, something inside me snapped. Not broke, snapped into place, like a dislocated bone finally popping back where it belonged. I slipped the lottery ticket back into my pocket and picked up my dollar store socks. "Thanks, Mom, Dad, they're perfect." Mom barely looked up from taking photos of Diane posing with her new car. "Oh, good, honey. I wasn't sure about the size." That's when I knew. They wanted a perfect family of 3, and I was going to give them exactly what they wanted. The next few hours were torture. I sat through Christmas breakfast watching Diane gush about her car's heated seats and premium sound system. I smiled when Mom posted Facebook photos captioned "Christmas with my girls," photos where I was cropped out or standing awkwardly to the side. I nodded politely when Dad explained how they'd been saving up for Diane's gift, the same man who'd asked me for grocery money just last week. But inside, my mind was working like a chess master. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't thinking about what everyone else needed. I was thinking strategically, tactically, about what I needed. That lottery ticket wasn't just money anymore. It was my declaration of independence. Over the next few days, while my family basked in post-Christmas bliss, I was busy. I claimed my lottery ticket at the state office, setting up the payout to go into a new bank account they knew nothing about. I started apartment hunting on the other side of town. I opened a separate checking account and began transferring my future paychecks there instead of the joint family account I'd been feeding for years. Most importantly, I stopped being Gloria the giver and started being Gloria the observer. It's amazing what you notice when you're not constantly scrambling to fix everyone else's problems. Like how Diane never once thanked me for covering her car insurance for 3 years. How my parents assumed I'd pay for New Year's Eve groceries without even asking. How they talked about our house like I was just a long-term house guest, instead of the person whose name was on the mortgage. The first test came on January 15th, the day I usually transferred $2,000 to the family account for mortgage and utilities. This time I didn't. I wanted to see how long it would take them to notice. It took exactly 6 days. Dad called first. "Gloria, honey, there's some kind of mix-up with the bank. The automatic payment didn't go through." "What automatic payment, Dad?" "You know, your monthly contribution for the house." "Oh, that? Yeah, I canceled it." Silence. Then, "What do you mean, canceled it?" "I mean, I stopped sending money to the family account. I figured since you guys could afford a $45 car for Diane, you probably didn't need my help anymore." More silence. I could practically hear the gears grinding in his head. "Gloria, that's different. That was a special circumstance. We still need your help with regular expenses." "Do you though? Because last I checked, I was the only one working full-time while Diane searches for herself and you and Mom enjoy retirement. Maybe it's time everyone started contributing equally." That phone call ended very quickly. The next call came from Mom 3 days later. This time, the tone was different, sharper, more demanding. "Gloria Marie Ramirez, what is this nonsense your father told me about you not helping with bills? This is ridiculous. We're family." "You're absolutely right, Mom. We are family. That's exactly why I'm not interfering with your financial decisions anymore. You made it clear at Christmas that you're perfectly capable of managing large purchases. I'm sure you can handle the mortgage payment too. That's completely different and you know it. The car was a gift for Diane's graduation. She deserved it after working so hard in college." I almost laughed. Working so hard. The girl who changed majors 4 times and took 6 years to graduate because she was too busy partying? "You're right, Mom. She definitely deserved it. Just like I deserve to keep my own paycheck for once." That's when the real fireworks started. Suddenly, I was selfish. I was cruel. I was forgetting everything they'd done for me. The guilt trips came fast and furious. 25 years of emotional manipulation, condensed into daily phone calls and text messages. But here's the thing about lottery money. It's not just financial freedom. It's the freedom to finally see clearly. When you're not desperately trying to keep everyone else happy, you start noticing how expertly they've been pushing your buttons for decades. By February, they were getting desperate. Diane actually showed up at my office, the first time she'd visited me at work in 3 years. "Gloria, this is getting out of hand. Mom and Dad are really struggling. You know they can't afford the mortgage without your help." "Then maybe they shouldn't have taken out a mortgage they couldn't afford." "But you said you'd help. You promised you'd always be there for family." "I also promised myself I'd go to college, but we see how that worked out." Diane's face went through a series of expressions: confusion, anger, and finally, something I'd never seen before: fear. For the first time in her life, she was realizing that actions have consequences and safety nets don't last forever. "What's gotten into you? This isn't like you at all." And that's when I realized she was right. This wasn't like me. The old me would have caved by now, written another check, apologized for being difficult. But the old me didn't have a secret lottery ticket burning a hole in her conscience. The old me didn't understand that love and enablement are 2 very different things. "You're right, Diane. The old Gloria would have already fixed this for you." But the old Gloria never got a BMW for Christmas. The old Gloria got socks. March brought the eviction notice. They were 3 months behind on the mortgage, and the bank was done playing games. Suddenly, my phone was ringing off the hook. Text messages at all hours. Voicemails that started apologetic and ended demanding. The desperation in their voices would have broken my heart 6 months ago. Now I was learning something crucial about toxic family dynamics. They only change when the consequences become unavoidable. The final confrontation came on a rainy Tuesday in March. I was coming home from work when I found all three of them sitting on my front porch. My front porch. Of the house I'd bought. That they'd been living in, rent-free, for 8 years. "We need to talk," Dad said, his voice harder than I'd ever heard it. "About what?" "About this selfishness that's taken over your life. About your responsibilities to this family. About how you're destroying everything we've built together." I looked at them, really looked at them. Dad, red-faced and indignant that his personal ATM had finally run dry. Mom, clutching her purse like I might steal it, despite the fact that I'd been filling it for years. And Diane, beautiful, privileged Diane, who looked genuinely confused that her magic money fairy had stopped waving her wand. "Built together?" I repeated slowly. "What exactly did you build, Dad? Because from where I'm standing, I built a house and let you live in it. I built a bank account and let you drain it. I built a life and let you live it for me." "Don't you dare talk to your father that way," Mom snapped. "We raised you better than this." "You're absolutely right. You did raise me. You raised me to believe that my worth was measured by my usefulness. You raised me to think that love was conditional on how much I could sacrifice. You raised me to be invisible unless you needed something." That's when I reached into my purse and pulled out something that would change everything forever. Not the lottery ticket, not yet. Something else. A folder full of bank statements, receipts, and calculations I'd been working on for weeks. "You want to talk about what we built together? Let's talk numbers." I opened the folder and spread the papers on my porch table like I was dealing cards. 15 years of supporting this family, $360,000. Diane's total benefits received, $150,000. My personal savings that I gave up to keep us afloat, $200,000. My college fund that paid for Diane's education, $80,000. The equity in this house that you've been living in, rent-free, $120,000. Their faces were changing. The anger was shifting to something else, something that looked almost like understanding. Total amount this family has cost me over 15 years, $710,000. Total amount I've received in gratitude, recognition, or investment in my future, 0. Dad's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Mom had gone very pale. Diane was staring at the papers like they were written in a foreign language. "But here's the really interesting part," I continued, my voice getting stronger with every word. "Christmas morning, I had a lottery ticket in my pocket. Want to guess how much it was worth?" The silence was deafening. $100,000. Money I'd planned to give you to pay off the mortgage, clear your debts, and secure your retirement. Because even after 15 years of being taken for granted, I still believed that family meant putting everyone else first. Mom made a strangled sound. Dad stepped backward like I'd hit him. But then I saw Diane's BMW. I saw your satisfied smiles. I saw those dollar store socks. And I realized something crucial. You don't want a daughter. You want a sponsor. You don't want family. You want an employee who works for free and never asks for vacation time. I stood up, gathered my papers, and headed toward my front door. The lottery ticket bought me something much more valuable than your mortgage payoff. It bought me clarity. And what I see clearly now is that you already have your perfect family of 3, You just don't need me in it anymore." As I put my key in the lock, I heard Diane's voice, smaller than I'd ever heard it. "Gloria, the lottery ticket. Did you really?" I turned around one last time. 3 faces staring at me. Faces that suddenly looked like strangers. People who'd shared my home, my money, my life for years, but had never really known me at all. The beautiful thing about winning the lottery, Diane, is that it teaches you something important. The best prize isn't what you win. It's what you choose not to give away. I walked into my house and closed the door behind me. For the first time in 15 years, I was truly alone. And for the first time in my life, I was finally free. The morning after that confrontation on my porch, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. My family had apparently spent the night in full crisis mode, cycling through every manipulation tactic in their arsenal. The messages started apologetic. "We love you, we just want to work this out," and escalated to threatening. "You're destroying this family and you'll regret it." But something had fundamentally shifted inside me. Reading those messages felt like watching a movie about someone else's life. The guilt that would have normally crushed me into compliance was gone, replaced by something I'd never experienced before: absolute clarity. I deleted every message without responding and got ready for work. That's when I discovered the first consequence of my new boundaries. My neighbor, Mrs. Chen, was watering her garden when I walked to my car. She'd lived next door for 6 years, had watched my family's dynamics play out through thin walls and shared driveways. "Gloria," she called out, her voice unusually warm. "I heard raised voices last night. Everything okay?" I paused, surprised by the genuine concern in her tone. Mrs. Chen had never been particularly friendly before, polite but distant. "Just some family drama, Mrs. Chen, nothing to worry about." She set down her watering can and walked closer to the fence between our properties. "You know, I've wanted to say something for years, but it wasn't my place. Watching you work 2 jobs while your sister stayed home, seeing you pay for everything while they treated you like hired help. Honey, you deserve better than that." I stared at her, speechless. She'd been watching. She'd been seeing what I thought was invisible. "My own daughter went through something similar with her in-laws," Mrs. Chen continued. "Sometimes the people who claim to love us the most are the ones who damage us the worst. Takes real courage to say enough is enough." As I drove to work that morning, Mrs. Chen's words echoed in my head. Other people had noticed. The dysfunction I'd normalized, the patterns I'd accepted as just how families work. Outsiders could see it clearly. Maybe I wasn't crazy. Maybe I wasn't selfish. Maybe I was finally sane. The next few weeks brought a series of revelations that would have broken the old Gloria's heart. Now they just confirmed what I'd already realized. My family's love had always been conditional on my usefulness. First came the social media discoveries. You know how sometimes Facebook suggests you look at old posts from this day in previous years. Well, I decided to do some investigating of my own. I scrolled back through years of family photos and posts, looking for something I'd never paid attention to before: how I was portrayed in my own family's narrative. The pattern was breathtaking in its consistency. Christmas photos where I was cropped out or standing awkwardly to the side. Mother's Day posts where Mom gushed about Diane's achievements but never mentioned mine. birthday celebrations where my accomplishments were footnotes to Diane's latest adventure. Even when I'd bought the house, the biggest achievement of my life, Mom's Facebook post read, "So excited that the girls found a place for all of us to live together." The girls. Like I hadn't single-handedly qualified for the mortgage, saved for the down payment, and taken on all the financial responsibility. But the real knife twist came when I discovered the family group chat that didn't include me. You know how I found out about it? Diane accidentally sent me a screenshot meant for that chat. A screenshot of my own Instagram post about a work promotion with her commentary, "Gloria's showing off again. She acts like she's so successful, but she still lives with Mom and Dad, LOL. Lives with Mom and Dad, in the house I owned, that they lived in rent-free. I sat in my car in the office parking lot, staring at that screenshot, and something inside me just laughed. Not a bitter laugh, not a hurt laugh, but a genuine laugh of disbelief. The audacity was almost impressive. That's when I realized I needed to accelerate my exit strategy. Within 2 weeks, I'd found the perfect apartment across town. A beautiful one-bedroom with a view of the river. I put down the first month's rent, last month's rent, and security deposit without blinking. The lottery money made it easy, but more than that, I finally understood what I was buying: peace. Moving day was interesting. I'd arranged for the movers to come while my family was out. Dad had a doctor's appointment. Mom was taking Diane car shopping. Apparently the BMW needed upgrades already, so I had the house to myself. As I packed my belongings, I made some interesting discoveries, like the family photos in the living room that had been gradually edited over the years. Photos from 5 years ago that had included me were somehow now cropped to focus on the core family. Niam, my high school graduation photo, had been replaced with one of Diane at some party. My Employee of the Month certificates from work had disappeared entirely, while Diane's participation trophies from childhood were still prominently displayed. It was like they'd been systematically erasing me from the family history. But the most revealing discovery came when I was packing my bedroom closet. Hidden behind some old coats, I found a box I'd forgotten about. Documents from when I'd bought the house. Inside were the original mortgage papers, insurance documents, and something that made my blood run cold. A draft of a will that my parents had asked me to review 3 years ago. In that will, the house, my house, that I'd bought and paid for, was left entirely to Diane. Not split between us, not even acknowledged as mine. Given to Diane like it had always belonged to my parents. I sat on my bedroom floor, holding those papers, and felt the last tiny thread of doubt snap. They hadn't just been taking my money, they'd been planning to take my legacy. The movers finished loading my furniture around noon. I left a note on the kitchen counter, not angry, not emotional, just factual. Family, I've moved to my own place. The mortgage payment is due on the 15th. The utilities are in my name, so you'll need to transfer them by the end of the month. I've taken my belongings and left everything that belongs to you. Best of luck with your fresh start. Gloria. I didn't leave my new address. The phone calls started within an hour of them returning home. First Dad, his voice shaking with what I think was genuine panic. "Gloria, what is this? Where are you? You can't just abandon your family." "I'm not abandoning anyone, Dad. I'm giving you the independence you've been wanting. No more Gloria interfering with your decisions. No more Gloria making you feel guilty about your choices. You're free. This is insane. You can't afford a place on your own. On Jabitwick, come home and we'll work this out. Actually, I can afford it just fine. Turns out when you're not supporting 4 people on one salary, money goes a lot further. Mom's call came next, and she was furious. How dare you sneak around behind our backs? How dare you abandon us when we need you most? This is not how we raised you. You raised me to believe that my value came from my sacrifices. Well, I'm sacrificing my old life for a better one. Shouldn't you be proud? But it was Diane's call that really revealed the depth of their entitlement. She was crying, actual tears, but not sad tears, angry tears. Gloria, this is so unfair. You know I can't afford the mortgage. You know Mom and Dad can't work full-time anymore. You're supposed to be the responsible one. I am being responsible, Diane. I'm taking responsibility for my own happiness for the first time in my adult life. Only me. But what about us? What about family loyalty? What about everything we've been through together? And that's when I said something that surprised even me. Diane, what have we been through together? Because from where I'm sitting, I've been through 15 years of sacrifice, while you've been through 15 years of benefits. We haven't shared struggles. I've had struggles while you've been protected from them. The silence on the other end was telling. When's the last time you asked me how I was doing? When's the last time you celebrated one of my achievements? When's the last time you contributed anything to this family besides extra expenses? More silence. I love you, Diane. I love all of you. But love doesn't mean setting myself on fire to keep you warm anymore. 3 months into my new life, something unexpected happened. I was grocery shopping at the Whole Foods near my apartment when I ran into Sarah Martinez, a colleague from my old job who'd been promoted to regional manager at a different company. Gloria, I've been meaning to call you. Are you still at Davidson and Associates? Yeah, still there. Why? We have an opening for a senior operations manager. The pay is 60% more than what you're probably making now, plus full benefits and profit sharing. Interested? Old Gloria would have hemmed and hawed, worried about leaving her comfort zone, concerned about whether she was qualified. New Gloria said, "Send me the details. I'm very interested." 2 weeks later, I had a new job with a salary that nearly doubled my income. The lottery money had given me the confidence to take risks, but my own skills and work ethic had earned me this opportunity. For the first time in my life, my success belonged entirely to me. The contrast was stark. While I was thriving in my new position, my family was drowning in the consequences of their choices. I heard updates through the neighborhood grapevine. Mrs. Chen had become surprisingly chatty once she realized I was out of that toxic situation. Diane had been forced to return the BMW when they couldn't make the payments. Dad had taken a part-time job at Home Depot. Mom was working at a daycare center. They'd lost the house to foreclosure and moved into a small apartment across town. The perfect family of 3 was barely scraping by. And you know what I felt when I heard this news? Not satisfaction, not revenge, not even sadness, just nothing. They were facing the natural consequences of their choices, the same way any other adults would. The only difference was that their personal ATM had finally stopped dispensing free money. But the real test of my new boundaries came in month 6, when I got a call from an unknown number late on a Friday night. "Gloria, it's me." Diane's voice was small, defeated. "Diane, how did you get this number?" I got it from your work. Listen, I need to tell you something. Mom's in the hospital. My heart stopped for a moment, the old programming kicking in. What happened? Is she okay? She collapsed at work. The doctors say it's stress and exhaustion. She's been working doubles at the daycare, and with everything that's happened, Gloria, she's asking for you. Old Gloria would have been in the car within minutes, racing to the hospital with her credit card, ready to solve whatever financial crisis had caused this situation. New Gloria took a breath and asked the important questions. What do the doctors say about her prognosis? Is she getting the medical care she needs? Well, yeah, but Gloria, we can't afford the hospital bills. Insurance only covers part of it. And with the payment plan for the mortgage default and Dad's reduced hours, there it was. Not Mom misses you or Mom wants to make things right. It was, we need money. Diane, I'm sorry Mom is sick. I hope she gets better soon, but I'm not responsible for her medical bills. How can you say that? She's your mother. Yes, she is, and she's also an adult who made choices that led to this situation. She chose to prioritize Diane's BMW over building an emergency fund. She chose to rely on me indefinitely instead of planning for independence. She chose to treat me like an employee instead of a daughter. Those are just things. This is Mom's health. You're right, Diane. This is about health. And part of getting healthy is learning that actions have consequences. Mom's medical bills are her responsibility, just like your car payments were yours. The conversation that followed was brutal. Diane cycled through every manipulation technique in the book. Guilt, anger, threats, promises of changed behavior, even attempts at emotional blackmail about Mom's condition. But something had crystallized in me over those 6 months of freedom. I could see the puppet strings that had controlled me for decades, and I simply wasn't going to dance anymore. Diane, I want you to really hear what I'm about to say. I love Mom. I hope she recovers fully. But love doesn't mean financial responsibility. If you want to help with her bills, you can get a second job. You can sell your possessions. You can make the same sacrifices I made for 15 years. But you can't volunteer my money anymore. This isn't the sister I knew. You're absolutely right. The sister you knew was enabling all of you to avoid growing up. That sister is gone. I hung up and turned off my phone for the weekend. Monday morning brought a revelation that changed everything. I was checking my work email when I found a message from an address I didn't recognize. dianer2847@gmail.com. Gloria, this is Diane. I'm writing this email because I need to say things I couldn't say on the phone. Mom is okay. She was released yesterday and she's recovering at home. But I've been thinking about everything you said and I think maybe you were right about some things. I never realized how much money you were giving to keep us all afloat. I never thought about what you gave up for us. I guess I always just thought that's how things were supposed to work. You were the responsible one, so you handled the responsibilities. But this weekend, when I was trying to figure out how to pay Mom's medical bills, I had to actually look at our expenses for the first time ever. Gloria, I had no idea how much things cost. I didn't know that the mortgage was $2,800 a month. I didn't know that utilities were $400. I didn't know that groceries for 4 people were $600 a month. I didn't know because I never had to know. I got a full-time job at Target. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. And I'm starting to understand what you've been doing all these years. I'm also starting to understand why you left. I'm not asking you to come back. I'm not asking for money. I just wanted you to know that someone in this family finally gets it. You weren't our safety net. You were our mother and father and provider, all rolled into one, and we treated you like the help. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. I read that email 3 times before the tears started. Not tears of sadness or regret, but tears of relief. Someone finally understood. Someone finally saw me. But more than that, someone was finally growing up. 1 year after that Christmas morning revelation, I was living a life I never could have imagined. My new job had led to a promotion. I was now regional director for the entire Southwest Division. My apartment had become a condo when the building went for sale, and I realized I could afford to buy. My lottery winnings, carefully invested, had grown substantially. More importantly, I'd learned to build relationships based on mutual respect rather than financial dependency. I was dating someone wonderful, Mark, a teacher who valued emotional intelligence over earning potential. I'd joined a hiking club and discovered I loved rock climbing. I'd started taking the art classes I'd always wanted to try. For the first time in my adult life, my time and energy belonged to me. But the real transformation wasn't financial or professional. It was internal. I'd broken the generational pattern of martyrdom that had defined the women in my family for decades. I'd learned that self-care isn't selfish, it's necessary. I'd discovered that boundaries aren't walls. They're gates that let the right people in while keeping the wrong influences out. The final piece of closure came on a rainy afternoon in December, almost exactly 1 year after the Christmas that changed everything. I was coming home from work when I found an envelope slipped under my door. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. Inside was a Christmas card with a simple message. Gloria, I know we don't have the right to expect forgiveness, but we wanted you to know that we understand now. We see what we did to you and we're ashamed. We robbed you of your youth, your dreams, and your future, and we convinced ourselves it was love. It wasn't love, it was selfishness. You don't owe us anything, not money, not time, not even this acknowledgement. But we needed you to know that we finally see you. We see your strength, your sacrifice, and your worth. We see the amazing woman you've become despite our best efforts to keep you small. We hope someday you might let us try to be the family you deserved all along. But until then, we want you to know we're proud of you for saving yourself. Love, Mom, Dad, and Diane P.S. Diane wanted you to know she's been promoted to assistant manager at Target. She's saving money for her own place. She says to tell you she's learning to be the woman you always were. I sat on my couch holding that card and felt the last piece of the puzzle click into place. They got it. Finally, completely, they understood what they'd done and what they'd lost. But here's the thing about healing. It doesn't require you to go backward. Forgiveness doesn't mean returning to old patterns. Love doesn't mean accepting unacceptable behavior. I wrote them a letter back, not angry, not bitter, just honest. I forgive you because holding on to anger only hurts me. I'm proud of the changes you're making because growth takes courage. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and love doesn't mean returning to dysfunction. I've built a life where I'm valued for who I am, not what I can provide, where my dreams matter as much as everyone else's, where my worth isn't measured by my willingness to sacrifice. I hope your new life brings you the happiness and growth that mine has brought me, but my life is here now, with people who knew my value from the beginning. Christmas morning, 1 year later, I woke up in my own home, with my own dreams, surrounded by people who celebrated my success. Instead of expecting my sacrifice, Mark was making coffee in my kitchen. My hiking club friends were coming over later for dinner. My boss had called the night before to congratulate me on making the company's 40 under 40 list. And in my wallet, where I used to keep family photos, I carried a different kind of picture now. A photo of me at the summit of my first mountain climb, arms raised in victory, smile blazing with genuine joy. That lottery ticket hadn't just bought me financial freedom. It had bought me the most precious gift of all, the knowledge that I was worth more than my willingness to be used. They wanted their perfect family of 3. I gave them exactly what they wanted. And in return, I got exactly what I deserved. A life where I finally came first. Some people might call it selfish. I call it survival. Some people might call it cruel. I call it justice. Some people might call it sad. I call it the most beautiful ending I could have written. Because sometimes the best gift you can give someone is the chance to learn who they really are when their safety net disappears. And sometimes the best gift you can give yourself is the courage to stop being someone else's safety net. My family learned to fly when I stopped catching them, and I learned to soar when I stopped carrying their weight. That Christmas morning lottery ticket, best $100,000 I never gave away.